All right. Good evening, council and citizens. It's 6 p.m. So I will call the meeting to order. Before we get started, I'll ask Stephanie if she'll please read the hybrid meeting ground rules and then call a roll.
All right, thank you. Tonight's meeting will be held in person with a virtual meeting component. If you are participating virtually, please make sure the name shown at the bottom of your video view is the name you would like the mayor to use. You can change this by right-clicking on your video view and selecting Rename. Audience members present in the council chambers will be called upon first during public comment periods. Those participating remotely should virtually raise your hand if you wish to speak. To virtually raise your hand, click on Participants and then click on Raise Hand. If you are participating by phone only, press *9 to raise your hand. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. All right, roll call. Brent Gary?
Here.
Richard Bloom?
Here.
Fred Brink?
Here.
David Fetto?
Here.
May Hayes?
Here.
Kate Moran?
Present.
John Smart?
Here.
And Stoker.
Here.
Thank you. Councilman Fetto, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. All right, council, the agenda has a change this evening. We're going to change our executive session to a different topic this evening, pursuant RCW 42.30.101(1)(I), which is potential litigation. So is there any other changes to the agenda this evening? If none, may I have a motion to approve the amended agenda?
I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you, council. And we do not have any presentations this evening, so that'll move us right into the consent agenda, which consists of approving the minutes of the regular meeting September 19th, 2023. Ordinance 2223, Transportation Impact Fee CPI adjustment. Resolution 6123, amending the master fee schedule for water system development fee, water connection hookup fee, and sewer system development fee, and repealing Resolution 6722. Resolution 6223, amending the master fee schedule for water service charges, sanitary service, sewer service charges, and associated low-income senior discount. Resolution 6322, a transportation impact mitigation fee agreement for Watermark. Resolution 6423, waiving competitive bidding requirements for well number 7 and well number 12 for the emergency repairs. Resolution 6523, amending the city's policy concerning proclamations. Resolution 6623, authorizing the mayor to execute interlocal cooperation agreement and ratify bylaws of the Benton Franklin Council of Governments. And a motion to authorize Benton Franklin Council of Governments Carbon Reduction Program grant application. And a motion authorizing the Bureau of Reclamation's WaterSmart grant application. Is there anyone from the audience who'd like to speak to this consent agenda items this evening? I see no one in person. Stephanie, if there's anybody by way of virtual *9 or virtual hand, please raise. I see no one virtually. Stephanie, do you?
I do not see anyone with their hand up, no.
Council, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you, council. This is the first opportunity for public comment for items that are not on the agenda. If you'd like to provide comments, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to address council. We'll start with anybody in-house.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. My name is Kevin Lewis, and I'm with Visit Tri-Cities. And we have been working, some of you know, we've been working with the Ironman organization on potentially bringing an Ironman event to this area. Things have been progressing pretty quickly over the last couple of weeks. We've had some great meetings with your staff, Public Works and Development, and the police department, talking about potential routes that would involve West Richland. And so I wanted to just take a quick minute to introduce the concept to you if you haven't heard that. Ironman's an event. We would be looking at an Ironman 70.3 race, which is you swim 1.2 miles, you bike 56 miles, and then you run a half marathon. And so we need to find 73 miles within this area to make that happen. And we've got a great venue down at Columbia Point. The swim would start at Howard Amon and they'd swim downstream to Columbia Point Marina. That would be the big expo area where all the bikes would be held there, the merchandise store and all the activities going on down there at the park there. But they come out of the swim, jump on their bike and do 56 miles and end up back at Columbia Point. And then the run would be, half marathon that would go up the trail system towards WSU Tri-Cities and then back, kind of loop back that way. The bike's the tricky one. And we have, that's what we've been navigating. And so these folks have been really helpful in helping us come up with a course that looks pretty favorable that we can make happen, that would come up over Dupertell around Badger. You go out Badger Canyon, Jacobs Road, and then come back in through West Richland and make their way back to Richland. And so just kind of wanted to give you a heads up on that this is happening pretty quickly. An opportunity came up where Ironman has, we talked about the concept with them. They came and saw the area, but then they had one of their races that shifted, and there's an opportunity for us to slide into that slot. And that's why sort of the urgency with it. So my goal was to just get you up to speed on where we're at, and then I'll come back and do a full presentation to the council with all the details and everything as we get them worked out. But hopefully we like the idea of having it here, because I think we have a great opportunity. An event like this would bring in about $8 to $10 million in economic impact during the week that they're here, plus all of the credibility and visibility throughout, the reach of the Ironman world, the media impressions and everything else. And those folks are pretty type A personalities. They're going to talk about what their race was and where they were. They share that, and it really does put a lot of good spin on the destination as a healthy destination, one that is, amiable to having events like this and coordinating and collaborating that way. So it would really showcase us in a good way. So I just wanted to share that with you now and let you know that we're continuing to work with staff and really appreciate the help that they've done in helping us put that together.
Thank you. Thank you for the heads up. Appreciate that, Kevin. Anyone in the audience? Sir?
My name is Kelly Zwicker. I've had a lot of problems down at I own a restaurant here on Van Giesen. A lot of people stealing gas and stuff like that. And we've never been able to catch many of them. And I was talking with one of the police officers there. He said, come to city council meeting. Maybe they might have enough money to purchase a canine so they could track these people down. What they're doing is they're going down to the rental store, and those U-Haul trucks they have there, they're taking the gas out of those trucks. And then when the cops come in, they jump in along the canal and hide. And so I'm trying to get this stopped, and it's been going on for years now. So anyhow, I just thought I'd throw it at you and see if that could happen. And that's all I got to say. Thanks.
Around long enough, maybe the acting chief can make comment in regards to that this evening as well. Anyone else in-house? See nobody in-house. If you're remote this evening, virtually, *9 or raise your virtual hand, be recognized. I see no one with a hand raised. Stephanie, do you?
I do not.
Now we see a hand up, and I'm going to terribly pronounce the first name, so I'll just go Ramos for the last name. Name and address and 3 minutes to address council. Go ahead.
Hi, yes, it's pronounced Yesenia, but Ramos is fine. I live at the 617 North 58th Avenue residence. And I moved to this area about 3 years ago, and I really love it. What I have not been loving is over the past, I suppose, year, I've had some run-ins with some stray dogs. I have been attacked. My dogs have been attacked by some of these stray dogs. And most recently, I had a run-in with a resident at Deer Street and Gross Cup. And this was Sunday evening. It was already dark. And this couple was outside. They had their animal not in the fence. They were in the front yard roaming free. And I'm on my bicycle exercising my dog, and the dog comes straight at us and attacks my dog, who is leashed up. And then as a result, I was taken down from my bike. So and so with that, you know, I had a dispute with them. They did not apologize, which, you know, at the very least, that would have been something. But so I guess what I'm trying to, my concern is that I'd like to see more of the animal enforcement, those codes reinforced, or even I've been talking about it with my neighbors. If there was like a smaller, I know we have the Badger Mountain Dog Park. That one is just so far out from us, and we've been talking about it. Well, maybe if we had a park here, or a space, maybe like a public fenced area for folks to come and socialize their dogs with the neighborhood dogs. It's just been an issue that we've noticed here over the last 12 months.
All right. Thank you for your comments. I will take some of that information up with ACO and the acting chief as well. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Anyone else remotely? Stephanie, I see no more hands up. Do you?
I do not.
Council on ordinances, resolutions, motions, and public hearings. We have none this evening, nor do we have any unfinished business or any new business. So this is the opportunity for the second public comment session this evening. And if anyone would like to address council in chambers, same routine, name, address for the record, and 3 minutes. And I see nobody coming to the podium here. Anybody else remotely like to speak to council this evening? Raise your virtual hand or star 9 by phone to be recognized. I do not see anybody virtually. Stephanie, do you?
I do not.
So this is an opportune time for our staff council announcements, reports, and comments. We'll go ahead and start with staff this evening from the right going to the left. Aaron.
I just want to report we had our audit completed last week. It was all clean. We had a financial, federal, and our accountability. You guys may have gotten emails for the financial and federal. Those audit reports were published. The accountability report will be published here on the 5th. Again, that's through the Washington State Auditor's Office. They came in and just report back that everything was good and clean.
Aaron, thank you very much. Your team does an excellent job as always. As I share with the audit team from Washington State, that they don't get just a shoebox full of receipts with our organization. And Aaron, you guys do a rock job. So do please pass that on for from the city council as well as myself. The thanks for everything that they do, and congratulations again. Yeah. Get a little breath before the next fire drill, right? All right, perfect. Mr. Slade.
I'll start with the good news. So we had applied for a couple of public works trust fund loans. One was for well 3, that was in the top 10, and was selected for a low interest loan. And then our joint partnership with Richland on their Tap Tail project. Richland was the applicant, but they were also selected. Theirs was the 48th or something down the list, but they made the cut. So that's good news for us. That means our portion of that Tap Tail booster pump station will be able to fund through a Public Works Trust Fund rather than having to come up with $1.2 million in cash. Second thing, South 38th, I've been giving you some updates on that. The water line is repaired. They were able to do that last, Friday night. Limited dirty water calls. They had a few on Monday, yesterday to follow up with. Yesterday we went out and inspected the road. We had a contractor out there, so you'll see another resolution the next council meeting, declare an emergency for that. It eroded the road quite a bit with that kind of pressure and that volume of water. It's pretty impressive. I've never seen anything or had a water break that lifted the road, about 1,000 feet of it. So it'll be a total rebuild. It's not salvageable. But the engineers come up with a solution to move traffic to one side, do a minimal patch so we can get traffic open over the winter, because there's no way to get a design and get it fixed, and try to do minimal to get it safe through the winter, and then we'll go attack it next spring. So I'd say cleanup, repairs, insurance deductible, we're under $150,000 out of pocket for that. WCIA is covering the private property damage. We did have one home that had mud and water in it. I got to applaud the police department for getting out there and closing the road, so we didn't have cars going into the through the pavement into the holes, and then the maintenance guys getting out there and getting the water shut off. The storm drainage system filled up very quickly out there with sand and gravel, and they left it no way but to go towards that house. So if they didn't get the water shut off, it'd have been much worse. So again, $150,000 for the initial is the estimate. The engineer's working on what the rebuild will be next year. Again, we've had a few questions on where that's coming from, and the water utility sets aside $1 million that's in the fund for emergencies. Didn't expect something like this, but that's what that money set aside to cover that. So we should still be okay with that. And lastly, today was the fun day of closing down the intersection of Palm Range and Keene. And so the paving's done. So if you leave tonight, that intersection will be back open. So that was successful. We're waiting for some LED lights for the signal heads, but we're still on schedule to complete it before the end of October and get that thing opened up. Everybody's done with it. And so we'll get that open as soon as we can. So that was it.
Roscoe? Chief, acting chief, do you have anything that you could add this evening?
I don't have anything to add, but I can get with Mr. Zwicker offline afterwards. We can talk about the K9 issue and what we've been working on in lieu of that.
Moving on to council comments, anyone? Councilmember Fetto.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple things. Seeing Kevin here reminded me, so as serving on the board for Visit Tri-Cities, we've talked in the Tri-City Regional Chamber, we've talked about My Tri 2030 as an idea of what we want Tri-Cities look like in 2030. Not sure how much Kevin as a doer has come on board and changed. So we've transitioned that now to the Tri-City Strategic Alliance, which will be more of an actionable group versus a visionary group. So thank you, Kevin, your staff for that. Start seeing some movement coming from there. Second, attended the Fall Classic this weekend. Hats off to Red Mountain Event Center, another great event. Every year it just gets better and better and better. This year, our friends at State Line Speedway brought down a ride-along car. So I got an opportunity to run a few laps with Jason Jefferson around the track at about 100, 120. Fantastic. Can't thank them enough for that opportunity. Not like, the 3-time track champion running around the track, sitting over to my right, but it was still pretty fun to spin around that track a couple times. And then finally, 5 years ago today, funny, it actually fell on a Tuesday, I was appointed to this council.
Councilmember Moran.
Thank you very much. First, I would like to make sure everybody is aware that there is an election coming up. So please make sure to check your registration for voting and make sure that it's accurate, or register to vote if you're not registered. That's all I'll say on that. I will mention that when it comes to in general funding for the police department, and specifically when it comes to potentially dangerous animals, I know that there was an attack recently within the Tri-Cities that was awful, and it leads to finding that there are more issues with the inability to get more dogs at the Tri-Cities animal shelter, that animal control is having issues having space for those dogs and isn't able to respond as much. Some of that has to do with funding. Some of that has to do with manning, which then in turn leads back to funding. So I'm hoping that in the future, we can really look at making sure that we can fund as best as possible. And I know it's hard with what we got and what we got to put money into, but if we can make sure that we continue to fund as best as possible the police department so that they can have the manning necessary to do the job, so that they can take care of the citizens and make sure that laws are being followed by people and by dogs, that would be absolutely fantastic. And that is all I got.
Three things. One was I will be heading to Orlando for the American Public Transportation Association Conference and Expo. Expo is handled every 3 years, and it's basically an event for all the vendors of transit to come together and try and sell their wares. But the last one I went to was probably, I'm going to say almost 10 years ago in Houston. But it was, it's interesting to see the connections with software, as well as, they're focusing on self-driving first mile, last mile type of advice systems to put in place. And then I had a discussion with Roscoe over the sewer line development fee, which was part of this discussion, from the standpoint that the current fee structure is set up to some extent not appropriately capture the cost. And the reason for that was we did extend that sewer down Everett, but that's a pressurized sewer, and the development fee for that it has a $2,000 cost per 2.5 acre lot added to it, which doesn't really have an impact on the development. I only found this because I saw what my cost is going to be for my connection. But that comes back to, it seems that with our groundwater issues in Section 6 and possibly even Section 8, we should look at the actual costs associated with it, rather than this formula that Roscoe tells me goes back 20 years ago. So it may have been a mistake 20 years ago. Nobody was putting a sewer into Section 8 or 6. So anyway, with that, I remembered the other substance, Pacific Rim. I found a bottle of Pacific Rim wine locally in the store, and not my cup of tea. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Stoker.
Yeah, so I just wanted to give kudos also to the staff who went and helped respond down at 38th. I have several friends down there, and I didn't realize it at the time, but the one family that was affected is friends of mine. I didn't realize they were the only ones, but I had reached out to them asking them if they needed me to come over and help. And when they responded back, they said it's already been taken care of, which I was shocked. And then I saw the post that explained how many of the staff members, I think even you, Roscoe, was there helping them out. So I was very appreciative of that. And secondly, Mr. Lewis, several of my friends run Ironmans. So I'm sure when I start telling them, they're going to be really excited. So thank you for doing that.
Hayes?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just want to invite the community out to the West Richland Police Department's haunted house that's coming up on October 31st. These guys have done a great job planning it. The one section's going to definitely be scary. And so that's exciting. And then they do have one for the younger kids that they go down the hallway and just get candy and stuff. But I think it'll be lots of fun. I'm going to be part of one of the rooms in the haunted area, and I think I'm on the gurney dead. But so that should be exciting for me. So we'll see how it all turns out. But I just think you guys have come up with a great idea and taken it to the next level from last year. And what you're doing for the community. I just want to say thank you, and I invite everybody to come out.
Mayor Pro Tem Brink.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too just want to pass on my kudos to Erin, Gwen and her staff. I sat through the financial audit exit interview, and one of the most important aspects of the city's operations, of course, maintaining the budget and so forth, but well done to you and your team, Erin. For my fellow council members, I just left a little sheet in front of you here just describing some events that are coming up with the Association of Washington Cities. One event that is not specified on here is Saturday, December 9th. The West Richland Police Department has graciously agreed to hold the elected officials essentials training, which is the OPMA, Open Public Meeting Acts training and so forth, but it'll be at the West Richland Police Department on Saturday, December 9th. That training is required of all newly elected officials and all currently elected officials. I think it's every 4 years or so. But that'll be held in our city. And lastly, I just want to mention that there will be a District 2 meeting event, which many of you may have received an email on. It will be held on Monday, October 23rd by the Association of Washington Cities at the Lulu Craft Bar and Kitchen around lunchtime. So, of course, everyone on council as well as our locally elected officials are welcome to attend. And that's all I have. And the 17th meeting, that's right. Yeah, the next council meeting. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will not be in town for that meeting, and I know that the mayor will not be here either.
We will have that conversation here just in a few seconds.
There you go.
All righty. So two things. What Council Member Bloom was discussing will be addressed in a rate model for council's information. As we work through the rate model after staff has got that completed, then it'll go to the subcommittee for conversation, then brought back to council for discussion. So I just wanted to give you a heads up of the process and what we're moving forward with that. And then as Mayor Pro Tem Brink mentioned, the 17th, I will be representing the United States with 3 other members of ECA at the International Atomic Energy Association in Vienna. The conference is framed around deep geological repositories for spent nuclear fuel. So it should be a very interesting conversation. As we all know, the one thing that worldwide is missing is the place for our spent nuclear fuel for both commercial as well as legacy waste. So a challenge certainly that needs to be addressed, because if we want to look to clean energy, as we say out here in Hanford, clean up to clean energy, you've got to have an avenue for that spent nuclear fuel as you look for small modular reactors and all of those different things. So I'm honored that the government is paying for this trip. It's not out of citizens' pockets or ECA's pockets. So I will do my best to represent U.S. Respectfully. They might need an interpreter for me, I've been told. So with that, that's all that I have, but I see Councilmember Hayes pop back up for just a second.
Just a second. I just want to remind everybody, the West Richland Chamber of Commerce has their luncheon tomorrow. Brian Vance, the head of DOE, is going to be the speaker. And so last year they were able to come, and this year, so it's a great honor to have them come to West Richland Chamber and speak. So I invite everybody to come and listen to everything he has to say. If you haven't heard one of his presentations before, it's great. So I think everybody's invited to come, and that would be great. Thank you.
And then one more addition, since we're going to talk about Brian Vance, they've been having tours for elected officials and staff members out at the Hanford site to take a look at the progress that has been being made in the clean up to clean energy efforts that Brian and his team is making out there. And there's been one tour, and our city staff, the majority of us will be able to take that on this Thursday tour. And possibly there's going to be another November one, so we can get Hoppy on that one too, so we can go out and see the site out there. But a lot of work's been done, but there's a lot left to go. As we all know, that as these other sites are cleaned up, this was going to be here for a long time. So with that, we are going to go ahead and adjourn into an executive session at 6:32, because it'll take me a minute to discuss this executive session. We're going to be there for 15 minutes to end 15 after we start, pursuant the RCW 4231-10-1I, to discuss legal counsel for potential litigation that our agency could possibly be a party to, with no action to follow, counsel. So with that, if I could ask you to please rise and exit door behind us. Righty. So with that, I will adjourn the city council meeting at 6:46. Thank you.